London, the summer of 1350. Before sunrise, a carpenter's wife rises from her straw mattress in a narrow timber-framed house near Cheapside. The room is dark and cold. The last embers in the hearth glow faintly beneath a layer of ash. Before her husband wakes, before the market bells ring, and before the city begins another day, she must bring the fire back to life. Soon it will heat the bread that feeds her family. Only 1 year ago, many of the people she knew were still alive. Now empty houses stand along the streets. Some workshops have lost their masters. Many families are missing fathers, mothers, children, and friends. The Great Plague that swept through London has left its mark on every corner of the city. This house survived, but the world around it has changed forever. London in 1350 is the largest city in England. It is the kingdom's center of trade, government, and religion. Merchants bring goods through its gates. Priests fill its churches. Royal officials carry out the king's business within its walls. Yet the city is still recovering from the terrible Black Death of 1348 and 1349, one of the deadliest disasters in human history. This reconstruction is based on tax rolls, wills, court records, guild records, archaeological discoveries, and surviving medieval buildings that still stand today. Together, these sources allow us to step through the doorway of a typical London home and see life as it was nearly 700 years ago. Today, we will enter that home and discover how ordinary people lived during one of the most important years in the history of medieval England. The house stands in a busy neighborhood inside London's ancient city walls. Narrow streets twist between rows of timber-framed buildings that lean over the road below. Homes, workshops, and shops stand so close together that neighbors can easily hear each other's voices through open windows. Inside lives a carpenter, his wife, their 3 children, and a young apprentice who is learning the trade. The apprentice sleeps under the same roof, eats at the same table, and spends his days working beside his master. Together, they form a typical skilled artisan household of medieval London. They are neither rich nor poor. The carpenter earns enough to feed his family and keep a roof over their heads. But every penny must be carefully spent. A bad harvest, a fire, or a sickness could quickly bring hardship. The family lives in this district because work is never far away. Nearby are busy workshops where craftsmen shape wood, iron, leather, and cloth. Markets fill the streets with buyers and sellers. The city's powerful guilds watch over each trade and help control who can work and do business. Their neighbors come from many walks of life. Bakers pull fresh loaves from hot ovens before dawn. Merchants unload goods from distant lands. Blacksmiths hammer iron from morning until night. Weavers work at their looms, turning wool into cloth. Every street is crowded with people, animals, carts, and noise. Though the plague has taken many lives, London remains packed within its walls. In some places, houses stand shoulder to shoulder, filling every available space in the growing city. From the street, the house looks tall and narrow. Its wooden frame is covered with wattle and daub walls made from woven sticks and packed mud. The upper floor stretches out over the road below, making the street feel even tighter. Many houses in London are built this way, standing close together like pieces of a puzzle. Inside, the home is simple but busy. The heart of the house is the main room on the ground floor. Here, a large hearth burns throughout the day. It provides warmth, light, and a place to cook meals. Smoke rises toward a hole in the roof, though much of it still fills the room. Wooden benches sit around a trestle table where the family eats, works, and talks together. Against the walls stand large storage chests holding clothing, tools, and valuable possessions. At night, straw mattresses are laid out for sleeping and packed away again when morning comes. Most families cannot afford glass windows. Instead, wooden shutters keep out wind and rain. There is no running water. Every bucket must be carried from a nearby well. There is also no sewage system. Waste is emptied into pits or drains outside the house. Space is precious, and every corner has a purpose. The home is not only a place to sleep.
Good day.
It is also a workshop, a storehouse, and a center of family life. Everything about the house reflects the priorities of medieval London. Work comes first. Family works together. Survival depends on both. The day begins before sunrise. The carpenter's wife kneels beside the hearth and carefully stirs the dying embers from the night before. She adds small pieces of wood and blows gently until a flame appears. Soon the fire crackles once again, filling the room with warmth and light. The smell of smoke spreads through the house. It mixes with the scent of fresh bread warming near the fire and the faint smell of damp wood from the walls. Outside, the city is slowly waking. The carpenter rises and pulls on his wool tunic. His wife and children dress in simple clothing made from wool and linen. The apprentice is already awake. Like his master, he has a long day of work ahead. Breakfast is plain but filling. Bread, cheese, and weak ale are shared around the table. Clean drinking water is not always easy to find, so even children often drink small amounts of ale with their meals. Soon the family moves into action. The youngest children are given chores. One gathers firewood. Another carries water from a nearby well. The oldest helps sweep the floor and prepare tools for the day. Outside, church bells begin to ring across the city. Their sound echoes between the crowded houses. Market traders open their stalls. Street vendors call out to passing customers. Carts rumble over the rough roads as goods are carried through the city. As the morning grows brighter, the carpenter opens his workshop. The apprentice follows close behind. Another day of work has begun in the busy heart of medieval London. As the day continues, every member of the household has work to do. In medieval London, a home is more than a place to live. It is also a place of business, and its success depends on the labor of everyone inside it. The carpenter spends long hours shaping wood into furniture, doors, and tools. Beside him works the apprentice. He sweeps the workshop, carries heavy timber, sharpens tools, and learns his trade by watching his master. His day begins at sunrise and often ends after dark. Inside the house, the carpenter's wife is just as busy. She prepares meals, cleans the living space, and brews small batches of ale for the family. She also keeps track of household spending, making sure there is enough money for food, fuel, and supplies. Every coin matters. The children contribute as well. They fetch water, gather firewood, run errands, and help wherever they can. Even the youngest child is expected to assist with simple tasks. Childhood in medieval London includes work from an early age. Outside, the streets are filled with servants, laborers, apprentices, and messengers moving from one job to another. Goods are carried through the city. Deliveries are made. Workshops stay busy from morning until evening. Very little labor goes unseen. The food on the table, the warmth of the hearth, and the roof overhead all depend on constant effort. Comfort exists only because people work for it. In this world, every pair of hands has value, and every day is shaped by labor. Life in medieval London is shaped by rules, duties, and social rank. From the moment a person is born, their opportunities are often decided by the family they belong to and the position they hold in society. For craftsmen like the carpenter, guilds play an important role. These powerful groups control many trades within the city. They set standards for work, protect members, and decide who can open a workshop. To become a skilled craftsman, a boy usually begins as an apprentice. He spends years learning from a master before earning the right to work on his own. Education is limited for most people. Some children learn basic reading and writing, especially if their families can afford it. Many others learn practical skills instead, helping with family work from a young age. The church stands at the center of daily life. Church bells mark the hours of the day. Religious festivals fill the calendar. Most people attend services regularly and believe that faith guides every part of life. Men and women are expected to follow different roles. Men usually earn the family's income and represent the household in public. Women manage the home, raise children, and often help with family businesses. Everyone also has duties to their community. Guild members support one another. Neighbors help during hard times. Families take part in church events and local gatherings. In this world, social rank shapes almost everything. It affects where people live, the work they do, the education they receive, and the future they can hope to achieve. Beyond the doorway of the carpenter's home lies a city full of movement and noise. The streets of London are crowded from morning until night, linking thousands of households to a much larger world. A short walk away is Cheapside Market, the busiest trading area in the city. Here, merchants call out to customers as they sell cloth, fish, meat, spices, and tools. Buyers push through the crowd while workers carry goods from one stall to another. The air is filled with the sounds of bargaining and trade. At the parish church, people gather for prayer, news, and community events. The church is more than a place of worship. It is one of the centers of local life, where neighbors meet and important announcements are made. Near the workshops, craftsmen shape wood, hammer iron, and weave cloth. Every trade adds something to the growing wealth of the city. The steady sound of work echoes through the narrow streets. At the city gates, carts arrive carrying food, timber, wool, and other supplies from the countryside. Beyond them, along the riverside docks of the Thames, ships unload cargo from distant lands. Foreign traders arrive from places such as France, Flanders, and the Baltic Sea, bringing goods that many Londoners could never produce themselves. London is becoming one of the most important trading cities in Europe. Wealth flows through its markets, streets, and river. Though the carpenter's family may rarely travel far from home, their lives are connected to people and places far beyond the city walls. Every piece of timber, every coin, and every trade links them to a wider medieval world. Yet beneath the noise of the markets and the steady work of the workshops, a dark shadow still hangs over London. Only a year has passed since the Black Death swept through the city. The plague killed thousands of people and changed countless lives. Everywhere, there are reminders of what happened. Some houses remain empty, their owners gone. Certain workshops stand silent because the craftsmen who once worked there never returned. The survivors now live in a city that feels familiar but also strangely different. There are fewer workers than before. Farmers, laborers, and craftsmen are harder to find. Because of this, many workers can demand higher wages for their labor. Some families see new opportunities, while others struggle to adapt to the changes. Not everyone welcomes this new reality. Employers worry about rising costs. Old traditions are being challenged. The balance between rich and poor is beginning to shift in ways few people fully understand. Many people also fear that the plague could return. A cough, a fever, or a sudden illness can quickly bring back painful memories. Families who survive the disease still carry the grief of lost parents, children, friends, and neighbors. Even faith has been shaken. The church remains important, but some people quietly wonder why such a terrible disaster was allowed to happen. Others pray more often than ever before, hoping for protection from another outbreak. London appears alive again. Its markets are busy, its churches are full, and its streets echo with activity. But beneath the surface, the trauma of the Black Death remains everywhere, shaping the thoughts and fears of an entire generation. As evening settles over London, the carpenter's workshop finally closes for the day. The tools are put away, the wood shavings are swept from the floor, and the door is locked until morning. After hours of labor, the family gathers once more around the warm glow of the hearth. A simple supper is served. Bread, cheese, pottage, and a small cup of ale provide comfort after a long day. The children sit close to the fire while their parents talk quietly about work, money, and the tasks waiting for them tomorrow. One by one, candles burn lower. Outside, the streets grow quieter. The sounds of merchants and carts fade into the darkness. Above the rooftops, the church bells mark the final hours of the day. In 1350, a home is much more than a place to sleep. It is a workplace where goods are made. It is a shelter from cold, hunger, and danger. It is a school where children learn the skills they will need in life. It is a family business that depends on every member doing their part. Most of all, it is a refuge in a world filled with uncertainty. If you enjoyed this journey into medieval London, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. and join us on our next journey into the past. This small house stands in a city rebuilding itself after catastrophe. The survivors of 1350 will help reshape medieval society, weaken old feudal systems, strengthen towns, and lay the foundations for the England of future centuries. As darkness settles over London, the family sleeps beside the fading fire, unaware that they are living through one of the great turning points in human history.